All right, guys, so I've been having trouble with my clutch slipping. It's not actually slipping in the traditional sense. What will happen is, especially on hard hill climbs, as I'm like feathering the clutch, I'll lose lever feel and I'll have to pump it to get it back. I've already bled the fluid, replaced it, made sure there's no air in the system, so I know it's nothing like that. The clutch mostly works fine. It will sometimes start to fade, but I've also noticed that the clutch is getting really hot and starting to smell, and I think it's starting to slip. So I think the slave cylinder is bad, and I think that I need new friction plates. All right, first thing we're gonna do is drain the oil. I've got this really cool little drain hose to drain the oil out without running it all over the skid plate and stuff. To do this, you gotta lay the bike on its side, install the tube, stand it back up, and let it drain out. It's kind of an extra step, but it saves me having to pull this, which is really a pain in the ass. There's a bunch of crud on this drain plug on the magnet. Oh, and it smells really burnt. I'm guessing I've been burning clutch plates for a while. So you can see that there was almost no oil in the bike. I guess it's burning more than I realized, but you can also see metal flakes. So I've been slipping the clutch a lot doing big hill climbs, and it's not good when there's no oil in it. I wish you were here to smell this. It smells like, well, it smells like burned oil or burned clutches. Now that the clutch cover's off, we're gonna pull the clutch and spring bolts. We're gonna do them kind of in a pattern. You don't wanna take all the pressure off one side at one time or you'll potentially warp stuff. Bringing the push rod out with it. There's your throwout bearing is in here. That seems fine to me. This push rod looks fine to me too. We've got broken metal plates. Because the metal plate's broken and it's been jittering, this friction plate is fucked. First of all, it's like completely worn away on this side because this plate was broken. Now, when you have broken plates like this, you want to make sure nothing falls into the engine. So we're going to try to get these all out and capture all these pieces, which are wedged and stuck. What a mess. Beat that shit. Woo. That got hot. It snapped, I guess, into many pieces. Let's say I got all the mileage I could out of the clutch, eh? Yeah, this is fine. The pressure plate is fine. Oh no, I see what happened. The basket's been cut into where the broken metal plate was like flung out centrifugally and rubbed against the outer castle walls of the basket. It's grooved into it. The broken steel ring grooved the hub pretty nastily too. So I'm gonna go get a recluse clutch to install here and we'll show you how to do that because this one is a mess. Oh. Oh, you can't snap your fingers when they're gloved and oily. How about that? All right, well, see you guys in a minute. The Recluse and Hinson brands don't carry a clutch kit, including the inner hub, which I need because it's damaged for this model year. But I'm not convinced that they really don't, because I'm not convinced that much changed about this model year from the newer ones that they do carry. So where I'm gonna go next is I'm gonna pull the hub and the basket. First things I need to do are bend the locking washer tabs flat, take the nut, take the hub, and then the basket. You can see there's a groove dug into it from the broken steel plate, and it's right in the slide surface for the clutch plates. See, it's on these few splines. Dude, there's no good way for me to file this down and reuse this part because this is in the slide surface. I can't fill it back in by filing it, so there isn't anything that I am gonna be able to do to reuse this that I can think of, unfortunately. There's the basket, got the bearing that we're gonna save. But you can see inside here how every one of these is just dug into because the steel plate basically flung out into the basket and then just ground into it. So it's all the way around these castles. But those I can buff out because the slide surface here, the usable surface is here. I just need to smooth where this extends in and I should be able to reuse the basket if I can't find another one. All right, so got the new hub. We are gonna be using stock clutch components because that's all I could find. So it turns out that the number of splines, on the output shaft of the engine are actually different from the 2005 to 2012. And then in 2013, they went to, they have more splines on the output shaft. So both Hinson and Recluse make clutch kits with a hub for the 2013 plus bikes, but they're not gonna work on this one, I discovered, because of the number of splines. Anyway, we're doing an all stock, all OEM clutch. I've got the part, I have a hub, which we're gonna be replacing. Got new steel plates, new friction plates, which are soaking in oil right now. First thing that I'm gonna do is go ahead and file down the basket to clean that up a little bit. There's you can see the grooves that are cut in these, so I'm gonna file this down a little bit. That's a clutch repair done. So the clutch mystery deepens. Unfortunately, it was not solved. I've had the parts in here for about a month now, and I was putting the video together to throw it up on YouTube, and it went bad again, and I want to show you how spectacularly it went bad. So I'm not sure how well this shows on video, but you see these grooves that are on the hub spindles? Those are from the pressure plate rattling around on those under power from the engine. There's these deep cuts in the sides, the slide rails of the inner hub here, and those are from where the steel plates have been slamming into that inner drive hub under pressure from the engine. So what I think has been happening is two things. One, I think the bushings are bad on the back of the basket, and two, I think the slides on the sides of these basket castles have been catching the friction plates and holding the stack partway separated so that it would drive, and then I'd get on a hill climb, be fully on the throttle, full power on the engine, and they'd slip together and slam the rest of those steel plates in against the inner hub. So those two things are happening. I've had a hard time finding the parts. I'm actually working with the founder of Recluse to see if I can get the full kit still for this older bike. But in the meantime, I'm gonna throw in a Hinson basket that I was able to get, an OEM hub, and then the stock OEM plates, which I think this time are still okay. I caught this problem before it went bad. So you guys have already seen me pull the rest of this stuff apart. What's gonna be interesting is I'm gonna put new bushings in the back of the Hinson clutch, and it's got bolts instead of rivets. So I'll show you guys how to manage that process. And then we're gonna go in the shop and I'm gonna show you how to put the Hinson basket together. There's the new Hinson basket. They use screws instead of the rivets from the stock basket. So we're gonna be removing this retaining plate. What we need is this primary drive gear. So this is the stock retaining plate. That's gonna come off. We're gonna drill these, take this and the new bushings that we got, put them in here. Stock plate, retaining plate. Here's the drive gear. So we're gonna clean up the metal shavings off of this. And we're gonna get out the new hub. These are the old bushings in the old hub, which we're gonna toss. These are the old rivets, which we're also gonna toss. I wanted to show you guys up close what this center hub looks like. You can see these nicks, how deep these grooves are. This thing's like looks like it's 10 years old. It's been in there a month. These grooves, I mean, you can feel them. They're just super, super deep. Those steel plates have just been slamming against your under power of the engine. It's the only way to get this to happen in a month. These are slightly curved. The bushings can only go on one way. That's important. There's 8 of these. These cost me about 50 bucks for all 8. It's not too bad. I did have to drive all over finding them though. See, yeah, like I had to press this in a little bit. There was no play at all. Whereas before, click, 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 click. And that little bit of click meant that the whole thing could slam because this had enough play in it to cause those steel plates just whack away at that center hub. So now they say to Loctite the shit out of these, almost literally what they say. Lots of red Loctite. You want like a permanent hold. You don't want these coming out in the engine. And then they say to peen the ends of these screws. I think that's to like wedge them in. All right, so I've got the Hinson basket ready to roll. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in off camera. You guys have already seen what it looks like to put this together. And then we're gonna drop the cover on, fill it with oil, and we're gonna go try it out and see what the heck happens next. The clutch isn't disengaging. John, let's go find a hill so I can try to burn it in a little bit. Dude, I rode up that hill with the clutch pull all the way in. It's doing nothing. It feels like it pulls. Like I can feel the weight of it. So it turns out that John, like a couple of years ago, discovered that if you over torque the clutch basket retaining nut, you're putting too much pressure on the bearing that the clutch basket runs on, and you're basically locking the basket to the shaft so that even when you disconnect the clutch plates, the basket's still driven by the input shaft or whatever it's called there. I'd actually read the torque for the EXCF and not the XCW. Reset the torque, clutch worked perfectly. So that was the end of the story. We make chin mounts. We've been talking about them for like 3 hours now and I've gone giddy. Link in the description, go buy one.